now.
Hey,
Oh,
Crispy.
happy
What's going
Tuesday
on?
night. I don't know, man. What's going on with you? Freedom, right?
Woohoo!
That's where we're at. So here we are, Tuesday night. My lovelies from Tam Tam and Green Yeats out there in the chat. Um, hey, biggest news this week is we are post SEC.
That's right. Yeah.
That's where we're at.
The SEC can't refile the case as of yesterday at midnight, according to Nuclear Herbs. So
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
it's pretty big.
that's
Not
pretty
enough
big.
people are paying attention to that, in my opinion. I think there should have been more of a price reaction than I saw, but it could be already built in. Maybe that happened a week ago.
Yeah, I think yeah, this whole buy the rumor, sell the news thing. Sometimes things get priced in, um, but I don't know about everybody else. I'm exhausted, so like I range back and forth between being completely exhausted and like euphoric, right? Because I know what's coming and what can happen. But yeah. I mean, last week we had gotten those buy signals in on HEX, and then a buy signal on EHEX. And I don't know if it was 12 hours, 24 hours later, we got that big push up on HEX. So that was good. It was exciting, to see that come up, start seeing some volume on chain. A lot of times, I think even I get biased with, hey, what's going on right now, and
Totally.
seeing what's happening over a few days, and all of a sudden I start normalizing it and thinking, oh, this is how it normally is. But I watch those volumes, and dude, we 4x'd volume over a couple days, and then it came back down a little bit more. But now we're starting to see new life. You see the staple pairs moving, see volumes moving. The Atropa ecosystem's moving. That stupid P dye is still moving. I love that. I love. We're not going to talk about that topic, but
Sorry, I couldn't hear you. I muted that word. It
I
doesn't
muted.
register anymore.
My microphone excludes that word. But it's been interesting to watch all this stuff, right? And I see
Definitely.
coming on the heels of that Rackham.
Yep.
Was posting
Rackham.
about everybody should have one P Bitcoin. And dude, hey, listen, I don't know what the price is right now, but I'm kind of in that camp of there are fantastical, funny things that can happen in crypto, and something that has a limited supply like that has great narrative. If the market chose to move it, it could move it pretty hard, right? And so
Yeah, it could be on parity with Bitcoin a lot easier than P-Dye could hit $1, I'm pretty sure by the math.
now, nobody get your underwear in a bunch. We're not saying that's going to happen. Just saying it could happen, right? If somebody really wanted to do it. And I got my theories behind that. Not tinfoil hat theories, but just the idea that sometimes whales make things move, and if you're watching, you see what happens. I mean, the whole idea is to distribute the tokens back out at a higher price. That's how market makers earn. That's how people make money. And it's the rest of us maybe don't catch on to that stuff. But, so what else you got? What else you got going on? I got a new protocol I know about that's getting ready to launch. We could talk about.
Interesting. Cool.
Yeah, got a couple other things to talk about too.
Yeah, I don't have any new protocols this week. Maybe next week. What do you got?
We go to pump tires. Somebody's talking about Bitcoin on pump tires as being it might be a better investment. It might be. The pump tires thing. Let's talk about that for a moment. Though, one of the things that one of the devs in the camp that I'm in observed is that there is in all this stuff with crypto, man, there's always somebody manipulating something, trying to do something. Hey, anyways, what we did observe is that at the end of a pump tires, right? There is an opportunity, a window of opportunity where somebody can finish the pool with gusto and then immediately sell. very quickly afterwards. And so yeah, some of the pump tires got it pretty rough. And if you didn't have enough to overcome, enough value to start putting into it, let's say it was yours and you cared a lot, it was your token. If you didn't have enough value to come in behind it and really pump it up, then you just basically look like all of them bloop, down, right? And so most recently, that Fitzgerald company's done really well. I've seen that TFC token.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I've heard of that one. I've seen. I think I sat in on an AMA with the guys from that one once.
Yeah, I mean, so some people, they want to do it. They come in and they're putting value behind it and working the price up. So, probably besides the fact that I'm watching the macros and looking for these buy signals and sell signals and all that. Probably the biggest thing that's captured my attention this week is the UpX guys from PlusX, right? They're the guys behind Validator X.
Yep.
They're launching a new type of liquidity pool called LPX. And that's supposed to launch on Thursday. Now, I haven't seen any documentation per se on, exactly the design, the contracts, any of that type of stuff yet. So I'll be looking for that. But they're getting close to being able to do that. And this is their. I'm gonna bastardize it. So you guys, I'm sorry if I say things the wrong way, but what I'm trying to get after is it's a market making software, but it's all contained in contracts.
So it's not a bot. It might work like some bots work, but it's has the security of being a smart contract, right?
Yeah. And so I sat through an AMA with them, today with, I don't know, 100 people, with them getting ready to launch that. And so what's exciting about that is it's, I guess I don't know enough technically to tell you it's 100% MEV proof, but it's MEV resistant in that the value that people put into the LPX pools is not normal liquidity like a Uniswap type of liquidity, or even a balancer liquidity or anything like that. It's liquidity it's not off chain, but it's in contract, and based on the settings of the contract, it goes and buys and sells, right? And so they gave us some Easter eggs today about the potential of aggregators being able to access that information and that data, and therefore being able to trade with LPX in and out, and some other things. So that'll be a curious one to watch, because anybody who's looked at the UpX tokens, you can see the mark that the LPX left on the tokens, in terms of driving the price up against Pulse. And anytime somebody's able to show me something that's making, greater than 10, 20% APR, that gets my attention too, right? So
definitely.
Yeah, so that's coming.
I like the potential it has for like protocols to use it to manage their liquidity in a beneficial way. That was sort of what caught my attention, is like, okay, you get these pumps, you get these dumps with tokens for protocols when they're new, right? Like, what if something like LPX could absorb some of the pumps and then buy back at the bottom, right? It seemed to be very well designed for that. You could end up with a much stronger chart over a period of 3 months if used properly.
Yeah. That's exactly what it's supposed to do. I mean, it's a sell high, buy low type of a protocol methodology. I mean, you could set it up to do the opposite, right? If you wanted to move out of something, and you could sell out, or you could only be buy only type pressure. But in general, right, the idea behind the LPX is to sell high, buy low, and try to take take a little bit of profit off the top. Now, some people will scratch their head about that and be like, yeah, but you're selling down the pumps, right? But you're really not. And what you're doing is you're taking away, at least this is the way I think about it, you're taking away the value that the MEV bots are the ones that actually steal.
Totally. And I've seen that before on launches, that like sometimes the MEV bots are the biggest winners.
Yeah. Well, and the reason I go there with that is, I do all this liquidity stuff. that I'm trying, the testing and looking to support tokens. And how does that work? Well, I know that most of us kind of like look at it and we're like, I'm guessing because I do this, right? So I'm really talking about myself. If I don't remind myself that these software packages that people are using, like Pidius, even PulseX, if I don't remind myself that they're not all knowing, I kind of like get in this mode. No, it'll figure out the best route and it'll give the best price, right? But go find something that's illiquid ish that has like 100 pools, and go watch what happens when you do a million hex or a million pulse buy on it, right? You'll see that it wicks up. We've all seen the wicks, right? And then it wicks back down. Well, what's happening in between when it wicks up is, yes, whoever did the purchase, if it was you drove the price up, so you got a lot fewer tokens, right? Well, somebody takes advantage of that and sells into it. And if it's not you that's going to sell into it with something like, let's say, LPX's protocol, then what's going to happen is that these ARB bots or the MEV bots are going to come in and they're going to take advantage of it. And they're not looking to like give you more value. They just bring it right back down, right?
Yeah, and then bridge off the chain, right? Like that's the general
potentially
behavior we see there.
Yeah.
So I think
this whole that's a whole business, right? So
one of the things about LPX that I found interesting was that it wasn't designed to take a whole pump. It was designed to bite off the top, right? So it's like it takes 5% off the top, 5% off the top, like that kind of thing. So it's not going to kill a pump, right? It's just going to feed off of like, and you see that on charts all the time. Like there's a big pump, whale puts in 20 grand. The top gets eaten by a bot right away, right? Sold down right away. So it's like, if you can take that from the bot and essentially give it back to stronger hands, roll it back into the community, it's probably overall beneficial. But there's going to be FUD surrounding it, obviously, right? Like, someone's going to show up the devs are selling, whenever something like that happens, even if it like completely makes sense on paper. But if we look at some of the charts for things that have used that, like I know they were testing that on the up X tokens, and the charts actually look pretty good, considering the devs were selling. But it's the devs are also buying is the part that makes it interesting. Oh, the devs sold here and then bought back here, so it's like, okay, that's better than a bot who bridges off chain.
Yeah, 100%. And I guess we get a little technical here. And while I'm not really like telling people, hey, you should go trade. There are a lot of people, obviously, you can trade, right? So whether I want them to trade or not doesn't matter. They're going to do what they're going to do. And so I see somebody out here that I'll shout out to, which is I click buttons, which is a funny, it's a funny kind of meme. Say I click buttons, right? But what I would say is this is, and this probably goes for all of your tokens that you might be trying to acquire. Pay attention to your slippage and how much you're moving the price and what the liquidity is. And quite often, and I'm like this too. I'm like, I'm in a hurry. I want something now. I'm gonna go push this button, right? Click this button. But if you just take a moment to right size it and kind of target smaller amounts and take it slow, yeah, it takes you all day. Takes you all day sometimes to do something, right? Because the people are in a hurry. But what we end up doing is, instead of getting the extra 10 or 20% of the tokens that you would have gotten, they're like, off to never land, right? You're just giving that money away. Now, unless for some reason you're trying to make a green candle to get everybody to go ooh and on, it makes much more sense to be methodical about it. That's what I'm thinking.
Agreed.
So slow and steady wins the race. I see a whole bunch of people out here with us. You guys have questions you want us to cover on anything, throw it in there. I see, let's see. Oh yeah, I see Mr. Max. Mr. Max. Yeah, this is true, my friend. This is true. I do believe that the timing will come about at some point where RH products will rock. Right. I do think that's true. I think that we as a community, you have a hand in it, whether it goes up, whether it goes down. I'm not in the camp of myself. I'm not in the camp that RH or the OA is going to pump everything and give a whole bunch of value away, because there's a whole lot of people here that are just looking to take value away. And so there might be some things like that that'll happen specifically to achieve certain goals. But I don't know. What do you think about that? You mean, I hear people talking about billions of dollars being brought in to pump up the price, and I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't know.
I think talking about it is fun. Sort of the equivalent of bull posting. Um, it's in theory that could happen, right? Like
Yeah, it
Ethereum
could.
could go to $18,000, at which point the Pulse sack bag would be worth $3 billion, and in theory, that $3 billion could be used to, pump every asset on PulseChain. That is possible.
Yeah, I'm more in the camp of that it would be used in measured amounts, because what I'd be, it's
That makes more sense.
yeah, I don't know, what would happen, but if I was the market maker, the head market maker in charge, right? Then what I'd be trying to do is prime the pump,
Yep.
right?
Yeah,
Because
you want new users to come in and make green candles on top of your green candles, right?
exactly.
Yeah.
And then you're getting more from that, as far as the green candles go, from the follow through, which then is a reinforcing, particularly in an upcycle and for the traders, is a reinforcing principle or situation where if you get the expected green candles after this, the expected pattern or the pattern that's observed, then traders are willing to take. They use different terms. Like Axis has all the terms down, but I mean, as far as how
do
to,
momentum trading or whatever.
yeah, and confirmation or third confirmation, and then go. I mean, I do that a little bit, like when I'm looking at the macro charts or for like the pi indicator. I do that a little bit. Like I'm looking for the price to hit a certain range and then push through, and then if I watch it, pick up support, then I'm like, okay, this would be a good time, because at that point, from that price to the next line, it's likely that we'll range in that area, and so that's an opportunity where if I wanted to set a stop loss, if I could, right, I might set the stop loss there, and then buy in, at that point with the stop loss to move it up, right, and see if I can capture whatever the next trade would be. I see. Hey, Hexagon lost in Asia. He's not lost though. I don't think you're lost.
He's found his way.
You see you all the time. Let's see what we got here. Alan saying, I reckon. I'm assuming that's reckon. We will be staking HEX on PulseX to get pump tires. RH memes, as you know that. Hey, dude. I haven't heard anybody say that, but that would be pretty cool. Wouldn't that be cool?
That's the first time I've heard that theory.
That'd be pretty cool.
The concept of staking to get something from pump tires, like, it's not terrible.
It's not a terrible idea at all. Not at all. Not at all. But I'm one of many people who have tried to put pen to paper. That's an old word or old methodology, saying thinking about something and kind of designing.
Sometimes.
Yeah. Try to figure out how to come up with a better mousetrap. It's difficult because a lot of really smart people have done a lot of smart things, and so come up with something new's hard. It's hard.
But if you do come up with something new, tell me, because I have to present on potential improvements to PulseX on RH Max's PulseX conference next week. So I need a list. Send me your good ideas. I will steal them.
Bribe them out. And RH Max says you're going to stream it to your 93 times a day. He did three today, I think you said, right?
This is number 3. Yeah.
And RH Max also wishing everybody a billionaire. Me too. I know it's not possible, but boy, it sure would be nice if everybody was a billionaire. But you could be a billionaire. I grant you that.
Maybe. I don't know what I would do with $1 billion. Like there's sort of a line where you could be happy, and it is far below $1 billion. $1 billion may actually be detrimental.
Hey, this is probably a good critical thinking exercise for people to go through. I've done this. I've covered it on my on my streams a bunch of times, and in financial planning. In general, I think the truth is that people, I think that what they call it, Maslow's law, or Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I think that's what
Yeah.
it is. But the hierarchy of needs are real, right? People need to feel safe, right? Need to feel like they belong. They need to be part of a community. This is just like the human animal in general. There, of course, there are other people that maybe don't fit this mold. They need to be able to take care of their family. They need a place to live. They need to be able to eat, drink, whatever it is they're going to do. So your basic needs need to be covered. But I think there's an awful lot of stress that comes to people over that topic, just in general, to start with. And then in the crypto space, not having a target or even like a realistic idea of what you need is problematic and introduces bad decision making and potentially greater risk than you really need to take.
Yeah.
So
yeah, if you're holding out for $1 billion, you're likely to be disappointed.
Yeah, well, if you had bought Bitcoin and had been mining,
you put
Bitcoin in
250 million into Bitcoin at 25K, you'd be a billionaire now.
So it could happen. It could happen, but you have to be a special kind of cat to be able to have held on to that all this time.
Yeah.
I mean, you really, and sometimes that comes from diversification, meaning, yes, like I got this bag. I never mined Bitcoin, so I don't have a bag, but you got this bag that you set aside and you just never touch it. But you have other stuff in your life that you're doing over here. It's like well, you don't have in Canada the same type of things, but it's like having a U.S. savings bond. And you're like, it doesn't earn very much, but it's sitting over there in the drawer. The only thing you can do is pull it out.
Yeah, we have saving bonds, all the same things. So it's like, saving bonds are boring, but like if it is not a terrible place to put $1 million, sometimes being safe is good.
Yeah,
crypto is not that.
Well, and I'm a pretty strong proponent for like you, meaning me, having an idea of what the hell it is I really need. Of course, I'm also in my late 50s, right? So it's a little bit different too. Now, I would like to say that I'd like to hope that I'm going to be around another 50 years. That'd be nice, but we'll see. We'll see what the we'll see what the insurance companies have to say about that, right? But their little data tables and all that. But here's the thing: is it's a lot more, and I saw this a lot with financial planning. Because I talked to somebody and be like, we use a standard rule of 4%, and the rule of 25, and you want to make $100,000 a year after you retire, you need $2.5 million in the bank. Got it? And they're like, well, not in the bank, but in investments. You'd be like, most people, when you tell them that you need $2.5 million, they're like,
they just give up.
They're like, there's a bar down the street. I'm gonna have a drink. That boat with payments sounds a lot better. I could really use a new car. People don't want to talk about how they figure out how to get $2.5 million, but that's kind of like, I wouldn't say it's quite law, but what I would say is it's natural effects, right? I mean, if you intend to retire and spend $100,000 a year, you got to have the money. So how are you going to do that? And so right sizing, crypto gives you that opportunity because of wild ass gains, but right sizing your range of expectations are pretty good. Like I would never say to somebody, don't try to make $1 million. I wouldn't say don't try to make $1 billion with a B. Yeah, goddamn, go do it if you can do it. If you can figure out how to do it, that's great. In fact, I can guarantee you I have a way to spend $1 billion. Never had $1 billion, but I could spend it. I know I could spend it.
We figure it out. Buy some islands, private armies, take over Madagascar. Yeah.
I mean, there's a whole bunch of things you could do. Whole bunch. So I guess the tidbit coming out of there, like you said, like who even needs $1 billion? Yeah, I say that all the time. Do I really need $100 million? I don't know. What would I do? What would I do with $100 million?
It's more the question of at what point would more money stop making you happy? And I suspect that point is much lower than most people think it is. right?
Yeah.
Like I've read a study. I think it's old data now, so we have to add inflation to this. But like the average happiness was capped at about $80,000 per year, and maybe that's $120,000 now. But like past $120,000 a year, it doesn't make you happy to have more. That was the nature of the study.
Well, yeah, and I'm sure there's some people out there can tell me they're super happy and they got a lot of money, and that's fine. I'm not questioning
Sure.
that. But there are a lot of
people
people.
might be happy with 120 grand, right? Like,
Yeah, and there are a lot of people out there that sell their soul, you know,
yep.
and they're not happy. And
Oh, yeah. What do you have to do? You know, like it's to get, you know, $50 million, a silly amount of money. Like if you have to do something despicable, I don't think it's worthwhile.
well, you could always, just sign up for my OnlyFans. But I've been focusing on hand and feet pics myself, so that's kind of my shtick.
Yeah.
I like
Not
to do
really my thing.
I like to do jazz hands. I get a lot from that. A lot of special requests. SJ saying I'm so excited to make green candles. Are you making green candles? That would be fun.
Yeah.
We could do a hex candle night, and make candles.
Yeah, we could get some candles
like that. Yeah. Said that. Oh yeah. Here you go. Eat the dips. Yeah, I've been trying to do what I can to eat the dips myself.
I was liking the dip on Hex today. It was looking pretty juicy to me. Sampling it.
All right, what do we got here? The only term Alan says the only term I know is throwing money into a fire pit. Best strategy. It does burn eventually. That's for sure. That's sure. Yeah. Hey, Mark. No, it's more complicated than that. But yeah, Maddie is doing well. And there's some reasons which are his to tell. But you can follow.
He's on sabbatical. He'll be back.
Yeah. Well, he's only on sabbatical from you and me. It was something like it kind of went sort of like, I'm really tired of you guys, so I'll see you. He didn't say that, but it's all good. It's all very positive stuff. I'd say follow his ex. There might be some opportunities that come through that you guys will really like.
Never know.
You never know. Never know. Yep, Hex Wizards saying the thing. Green candles generate the FOMO. The FOMO generates more green candles. Yep, wash, rinse, repeat. That's kind of how it goes. Let's see. We got anything else we got to do? Nobody's special. I think you must be special if you've recognized that this is a great stream from us.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah, Shell Fox. If I had 2.5 million, I wouldn't need to. Yeah, I know.
Good point.
Yeah. $1 million would be nice. All right. So what else we got? Yeah, hey Chris, drive careful, but turn it up, man. Turn it up. Turn it up. You got a lot of fans now, Fastable. We're gonna call you.
Chris is he's a fellow founder on the PulseChain. Yes, he's also Canadian, so we have that in common. Gelato.
Hey, listen, $20 is $20, man. Hex Wizard 369. So extra crispy does it. We can do it. Yeah. If they could pay in Hex, it would work.
I was talking to a guy today with Triplet Dad. That's we're trying to convince him to launch on PulseChain, but he basically has an app where people can, pay for work with crypto, escrow service and so on and so forth. And he wants it to expand. It has like a location thing. So it's like you could hire someone to mow your lawn and pay them with Hex. That was the pitch, right? There's also like online work, the regular stuff, but it's like pay in crypto, pay with Pulse, pay with Hex. For real world activity in your city where you live, right? So there might be an opportunity for you to sell some of those pictures for Hex, Crispy.
Yeah, I'd do that. I'd sell them for Hex. I'd sell them. I could make more pictures, and then And then we got here Chris Squirrels. I know how to make 10 million crypto. It's quite simple. You start with 20 million. Exactly. I could do
That would have done it for me.
In fact, we can make that 10 million less than 1K if you want to. Make all the right decisions. Make all the right decisions. Oh, all right. So I caught up with the chat. Triplet Dad, I see you out there. It is kind of funny. I got my cigars here, buddy. I got I don't know. I got a box of flatheads in today. That's a type of cigar.
Sounds like a type of fish to me, but okay. I hope they're good.
It's kind of a crossover to from Gearheads. Kind of
Are they fish flavored?
Like an engine theme. No, they're not fish flavored. They're not fish flavored.
No, fair enough.
So what else? What else do we want to go after and talk about? So I like the HEX opportunity right now a lot.
Yep.
Asymmetrical type of an opportunity. Totally faded, man. I know I can get a lot of hassle from people about the idea of getting the HEX because they got 10,000 other things they can talk about. So I've really been focusing the last week or so building my case for staking of HEX. So won't let the cat out of the bag yet, but we'll get into that. But I'll tell you what I really have been watching that's crazy is just how little T-shares people can get from their ending stakes. So stakes are ending, and in order for the people to actually keep the T-shares, they would have to just restake everything for even longer, which has always been the rule, but it's quite pronounced now. It's quite pronounced, and or put even more value in, stake it all for the same number of days and put even more value in. And so, yeah, I know I'll be talking about this for the next 5 years for sure as we go into the second trimester of HEX, and the cycle. But I do wonder, exactly. I know it's affecting the availability of HEX, but I do wonder how that will affect the price eventually.
Sure. I have a meme coin I want to talk about that I think is appropriate to expose everybody to. Not financial advice. It's down like 98%. Like its high was $80. It's like less than $1.50 now. It was inflationary, but the inflation was turned down by 97%. So now it's just barely dripping out. Most of the people who hold it got it for free, and so the biggest holders have insane diamond hands. They got something for free that they haven't sold yet, and it went down from $80 to $1.50. It's called INC. It's got a nice green logo. It has, I think, for Richard Hart core tokens, it has the second lowest liquidity after HEX. Does that sound right, Crispy?
It sounds about right.
Yeah. So like HEX with a relatively small cash injection, it could pump a lot. I'm not saying it's going back to 80. I'm not saying there's a 10,000x, but it wouldn't take a lot of financial energy in crypto terms to send it to $40, which I believe to be reasonable.
Yeah, I think that's a reasonable idea. Yep. I don't know that it's going to go there. Right? Somebody asked me the other day. Normal question. We get this a lot from people. If you had $10,000 of new value, where would you put it? And what's the choice? And what would you swap into? Would you put them into this? Would you put them into that? And then, of course, the opposite is, well, if you had these tokens, what would you do? Now, I don't give financial advice anyways, but I think about it for myself. Like, I'd be scared to death to get out of my INC.
Yep, because you could get left behind, right? But if somebody asked me that question, my response would be, what's on sale today? Right? It wouldn't necessarily be like, oh, INC's the best one, HEX the best one, Pulse the best one. What's the price today? What's the ratio of INC to Pulse, of PulseX to INC, of PulseX to Pulse? Like, where's my best ratio trade on those today? And that might be where I put my my $10,000, because I don't think Richard loves one baby particularly more than the others.
Oh, I think he does. But that being said, I think he's a responsible parent.
Probably true.
You know, I think he does favor Hex a little bit, but
The firstborn son will inherit the earth. Is that where we're going with this?
yeah, but maybe he's got to be on his own now. You know, I don't know. We'll see.
Could be.
We'll see. I see some questions out here about LPX. We talked about LPX right at the get go for about 5 minutes on the stream. You can go back and look at it, but it does tie into this ink discussion. So, what do you do with ink, right? If you don't want to lose it, well, you could, of course. We know somebody. I know a guy who does this ink printer thing, and so there is some way to kind of monetize your ink through that, which is your liquidity or liquidity. I hate that they named it the way they did. Liquidity.
I know it's stuff where liquidy. It's a liquidy fork.
Liquidity fork, and you could do that. So that's one thing you could do. And then tying right back, Ben, for you, back to LPX. So again, you guys got to do your own research. We're going to talk about stuff on these types of streams. You know, you got to go look, right, and make sure you're comfortable with it, risk adjust, all that stuff. But that's a great question, because I've heard some people, and in fact, I was asked that question too. You know, would you go put ink into LPX? And I might try it, but because I'd have an opportunity maybe to earn more ink through LPX because of the way that is supposed to go. And
I think that would be the mindset to have. Yeah, is that you're using this to increase your total coin count when it's, you know, close to the bottom. That would be a good play for that tool.
Yeah, and to support the ink price.
Yep, that also true.
Because I think what we observed with the LPX, so it's a fancy term, but what I'm going to describe to you is what some market makers do manually and some automated. But some market makers, when their token goes up, they sell some of it and they bank some of the profit. And when it goes down, they buy some of it back. And when they have enough value, if the market maker is really managing that and they have enough value, and it's 10 times the value of any single dumper, the dumpers lose power over time. Right? Similar to the discussion about the OA, except we don't have the active trading, right? But just this idea that there's someone or something that has so much value that they can buy it back and support it. So yeah, I think there's going to be some opportunities with that. With the LPX guys, I guess we didn't say this part. What they're launching this week, and there's more to come in the future, are pools with the cores.
Yep.
Right. So we're talking about Pulse and HEX and PulseX and INC. And so the Thursday is when they're going to start opening it up where people could deposit into it if they want to. You know, and then after 2 days, then the protocols start running. And there's a lot more to it than just what we've said here, but I guess I don't want to get too far into it. Though I've done some streams on LPX, so I'll do some more. I'm waiting to see some more documentation about the final designs and whatnot myself, so I can really start talking about it in detail.
When you want to, I don't know. I don't really like to get too far into things until I feel like they're safe. And I'm not a dev, so my opinion maybe doesn't matter. But I know some devs that like to, you know, get the feel for, is this good? Does it work? What are the mistakes you can make? Because even if something is perfect in crypto, you still need to read the white paper and learn what you're doing, because you could still make a human error is the most common problem.
This is for my OnlyFans. I had a request come in. I gotta wear my glasses.
Yeah.
Hey, $20 is $20.
Yep.
All right, guys. What do you got for questions? You want to talk about anything? Throw it in the chat. We'd love to answer some questions. I think we hit everything that people asked about at the moment.
Anything you want, guys, about crypto, please. You know, between Crispy and I, we could probably cover almost everything on the Pulse chain. Chances are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we probably could cover a lot of stuff. I'll tell you. Stuff, anyway. Don't worry, Jay. So somebody else paid for those glasses. Yeah. Yeah, it's been interesting this week for sure. I know people on a roller coaster. I've been seeing, like I mentioned a little bit earlier, saw volumes go way up and volumes come back down, and volume go up and volumes come down, waiting for all this to track and get moving in the direction I wanted to go into. You know. Um, well, what else, guys? Richard's been on a tear. Richard's been on a tear, posting.
Yep. Some pretty meaningful posts too. Like he's talking about, like intense stuff that sounds pretty bullish to me. Implying that like there's tokens that are better than Bitcoin and Ethereum. He never said them by name, but I feel like he's talking about his tokens. That was cool. That got a lot of hits on Twitter. And then what else was he posting about? He was critiquing the Ethereum website and then suggesting changes and asking people to suggest changes to the PulseChain website, pulsechain.com. What would new users like to see on pulsechain.com? I gave him some answers.
Well, here's one. So I'm just doing quick numbers on XRP. I was doing the math on it real quick to see where that is. I guess XRP is up probably about a 20x from about 12 cents, right? I think that's about right.
Okay.
And the reason I bring that up is back in 18-ish. I'd have to go check, but it might have been right before that. It might have been after that that it came back down. But I think XRP was right around 12 cents at one point. And so if we think about that, that was like 7.5 years ago.
So, and those people held for so long, and I still don't think XRP is going anywhere. Like I don't think it's going to take over the world.
I don't think so either. But I sure like the 20x.
Yeah,
we sure like the 20x, But I mean, I guess that's the thing is, can you do that? Are you willing to do that type of thing with Pulse? Like it comes down to believing, doesn't it?
It'd be a lot easier to 20x Pulse than 20x XRP, wouldn't it? Like by the total amount of liquidity.
Yeah, it still sticks in my mind that I actually had bought Ethereum at $1.86 in order to spend it. And look at that. What are we at? 2,600 right now.
Yep.
For that. So
you bought Ethereum at what price?
$1.86. But I didn't keep it. It wasn't because it was a shat coin then. This is before I became enlightened. I was a Bitcoin maxi in the beginning, because that was most of the information you could follow. And even I was following Richard, and Richard was a
he was a Bitcoin maxi too, right?
And it wasn't until he wanted to do something and he started thinking about it and started investigating, realized he couldn't do what he wanted to do on Bitcoin. He couldn't do it. And then that became worldview changing. But since then, ETH went up 1,400x. So even if PulseChain did half as well over 7, because roughly the same amount of time as that discussion, right? So even if PulseChain did half as much over the next 7 years, I guess here's the question to me: am I willing to sit for another 7 years and wait for 699x? Yeah, the answer
pretty good payoff for 7 years, right?
Yeah, for me, the answer is yes. But I recognize I just said 7 years, man. It would be sitting here in 32. We'll be like, PulseChain finally went up 699x. It's like people would freak the F out. But I guess that's part of the whole cycles and how that stuff works.
Yep. There is something to be said for the concept of like, okay, so people aren't gonna. You think you're gonna sell the top? You're not gonna sell the top. You're gonna sell on the way to the top. You're gonna sell on the way to the bottom. Some people are gonna take the whole ride all the way through to the next cycle, and in theory, those could be some of the biggest winners if they play their cards right. Like imagine you did things like ran validators for the next 7 years, right? Or invested with one of the liquid staking protocols, LPX or Vouch, for example, and ended up with way more pulse. Like I'm talking multiples. You'd have
I could vouch for you.
10x the amount of pulse you have right now if you put it all into validators and liquid staking protocols right now, and just kept doing that for 7 years, up and down through the bear market, you would have so much pulse.
Yeah, I mean, there would be a lot. Well, yeah, and the thing is a lot of people won't hold on to it, just like they have. Yeah, it's just like I'm telling you about the ETH. You think I was the only one that bought it? No, a lot of people were buying ETH at that price, and
Yep.
most people didn't hold on to it. You have to have conviction in the in those assets to be able to do it. I only got it because I wanted to buy some other crap coin that went to zero. Right? No.
Yeah.
That was back in the beginning when I was like, I don't even know what this crypto thing is. Why does everything go up together? I don't understand it. I'm a genius. Look at this. It's going. Everything I picked went up 10x. Right.
Yeah. Well, that's the in the bull market, we're all geniuses, right?
Yeah. Geniuses.
There's not very many bear market geniuses.
So SJ's in the chat. I guess she's going to do another. She's going to be doing another stream tomorrow with you and Mr. Triplet Dad.
That's right. We're going to talk about the mailer.
This could be on the mailers.
Mailers, and also her in-person meetup / disco party in California.
Disco, nice. I went to a disco party once.
Like in the 70s.
No, I was too young. I was still young then.
Me too.
For that, I might have been there, but don't tell anybody, right? So we'll do that. Let me see what I can drum up. Anything else you want to get onto? Anybody out there? We're giving you an opportunity. Don't say we never asked you.
That's just a hard question, boys.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the charts right now, real quick, to see if I have any singles. Do you have any singles?
In the charts.
How about those loonies? Right?
Well, they're worth about 80 cents American.
Are they that low now? Huh? Yeah. I'm just looking.
That's pretty standard, actually. I haven't looked at it lately. It's kind of funny because I'm Canadian, but I think in US dollars, because like crypto is kind of in US dollars. So sometimes if I need to make myself happy, I convert my bags from US, like in my mind, just on the screen, I convert my bags from US dollars to Canadian dollars. And I feel richer.
Oh, nice. Yeah. It's a quantity bias. I'm just perusing the charts. I don't see anything new in all of crypto. I don't see anything blasting out any type of signals or anything going on like that. Things are just going up and to the right slowly, kind of like like a normal pre-parabola, I guess. We'll see. Oh, here's a good question. I don't know if you have anything on this. You might know more about the lawsuit than I do, but Shellfox has a comment.
Let's see. Wonder if Arch's case win has given an already notorious law firm an edge in crypto law. Or how many big profiles will also be in contact for this advice, which doesn't exist elsewhere. It's probably true, right? Like that's a reasonably high profile case in crypto world, not everywhere. Like, only crypto geeks know about this probably, but certainly like if I had to go up against the SEC and I could afford Richard's lawyers, I would probably consider that as a great option. Yeah, I think it's more to the point that that law team, with Richard Hart, like beat the SEC. That's going to make the SEC more gun shy to just erroneously throw out accusations, right? Like, that stuff costs money.
Well, yeah, I think there's going to be some serious like case law out of this. Now, I don't know. Well, of course, I don't talk to RH. I don't, not my buddy, right? So we're not talking on the side. Maybe SJ might know that. But here's a thought, right? I think on the surface, being like not a lawyer, I think he has a case against the SEC.
Oh, like a countersuit case.
Yeah, I think he has a case.
That would be. Oh, we should have nuclear herbs on to talk about that because that would be
Yeah,
super hilarious.
that'd be kind of cool. But I got to tell you, I even if he had a case, I'm not sure which end he'd land on with that, which side he'd land on it. Like on the
Does
one
he
hand,
have a case or do we have a case?
oh, that's a good question. You know, or do we have a
Like
case?
class action lawsuit, PulseChain and community versus the SEC. It'd be funny if the sack bags weren't what pumped PulseChain. It was the SEC that pumped
Yeah,
PulseChain.
yeah. 7 years from now, after the
Yeah.
600, after the 966X or whatever,
Yeah. Yeah.
that'd be kind of funny. But yeah, I kind of imagine that this way, if that was if lawyer said to that to RH said yes, there's a case here, and he had to decide. I could see him on the one hand saying, "You're going to pay for what you did." Like I'm still waiting for all the libel. You know, like there. I think there's a part of me that it would scratch that itch to see somebody eat their words over all the libel and the slander. I guess I don't even know the right definition, so I should be careful. But the things that were said that were untrue, like there's a little bit of that, and then see it. But on the other hand, ultimately, you're only hurting people with a lawsuit like that against the government. Now, it might be enough that you won. And when I say you're hurting people, well, do we individually feel it? No, it's just taking money out of the government's pocket, but that money comes out of people's pocket. And,
Totally. But what if it even wasn't like what if it was a token amount of money, right? Like let's say it was whatever, $2 million, whatever Richard's law fees were, right?
$1.
Like even if it was
$1.
$1, just like the publicity of the item would be hilarious.
Yeah, Shaw Fox says for glory. Glory. It'd be for the glory. Yeah, yeah. Hey, Hex Wizard, this makes me think of something. It's not about you specifically, but you're saying I'll be coming to big events in the future, conferences, etc. in the future. That's good, by the way. I think it's fun to meet people. I've done that a lot. I think that it also reminds me of two things. One, there were some terrorized people. You talk about chilling effect with the SEC. There are a lot of people in our community that got chilled the F out. Like chilling effect being afraid to even show their faces or say things in public, which is not the way it should be, particularly if you're being respectful. But you have an opinion, right? It's not the way it should be. It shouldn't be that you're afraid to talk. And but there are some people who got really chilled by the SEC thing. And so two things have been happening over the last month that I noticed is outright people arriving, I'm back and I'm all in. You know, I'm seeing that on Twitter now and on HEX. And then also, several people, I'm sure you guys know who they are too, but several people coming back to streaming and talking about HEX and all the rest. And I'm glad that they're back. I'm glad. I have no illusions. I mean, everybody does what they want for their own reasons, but I'm still glad they're back because if they're not going to pump their own bags, then that's a problem, you know.
Indeed, but like I understand why people left, and I understand why they came back, and all I have to say is welcome back, right? Like it was totally reasonable, especially for people who are really out there face on the screen, streamers and stuff. You got scared, you left. Or you needed a break or you didn't want the pressure, whatever your reason was, welcome back. Now's the time, all hands on deck. Happy to have them.
Yeah, and see, this kind of like underscores my point with nobody special saying I was in at the beginning and never doubted RH, but the SEC thing had me worried and doubt crept in, but I never sold. That is like the tale of the core hexicans anyways. So I applaud you for that, being able to do that for sure. But yeah, the SEC thing really did throw people off. Yellowtail, you better get ready. You better get your best suit or best dress, whatever it is.
Fire up your webcam, kids.
Jumpsuit, whatever, Yeah. And so yeah. But
honestly, though, like if us two old guys can do this, like there's got to be some kids in the crowd that could, that could do it better, right? If you think you could do it better, then start a YouTube channel. I know there's one guy who just started, who's, he's done a tour at Access on the other day. He goes by Blockhead.
Yeah,
Young me
but
relative. He's probably 30 something, but to me, he seems pretty young. And like, yeah, if you have the skill, the gift of the gab, or you're just real pretty, like throw yourself on the screen and start talking about the Pulse Chain.
yeah, 100%. 100%, right? I mean, that's how you do it. I thought we I don't want to cast shade on the current opportunities with postcards and what's going on with that, the mailing and everything. I think that's pretty important actually to get it done properly, right? I think it's pretty important for that. But as a secondary, maybe later kind of effort, hey man, we all got these phones, right? There was a time we all couldn't just film TikToks and shorts. We could start doing the pulse of pulse, and set a date. You do a one-time thing to start with, and say, hey, on this day, get your content. It doesn't have to be long, right? I mean, it's less than 30 seconds is fine.
Oh, we're all carrying these like $1,500 supercomputers in our pockets, right? Like I, of course, have one that's like, what is this, an iPhone 10?
Like $10,000, but yeah.
But it's like this would film a fantastic video. It has great speakers. It's got a great camera. My wife's got one like 3 newer than this. That's like better than, it's better than my webcam. And like, I don't know. You obviously have a $50,000 setup for your studio, but my setup's worth about $500.
Mm-hmm.
Like I got a light, I got a camera, and I got a microphone, and they're middling quality, but they're, to me, they're good enough. Past a certain point, they just get too complicated.
Well, yeah, sure. But I guess my point about it was why couldn't we go for 500 TikToks in a day?
That'd be cool.
Okay, set the number at 100. Publish 100 shorts across 100 people in one day and pump the algorithm.
That's it. It's not a terrible plan. First, I need one of my kids to teach me how to use TikTok, and then I'm down.
Yeah. You know how to make a video. You just make a video and you upload it.
Yeah.
To the different ones that you want to go to. But we can do some stuff like that. So we have some, we have some people in the community doing really well with Instagram and whatnot.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think. Well, what if you picked one media source, right? Like, this week we're doing Twitter on this day. Everybody upload a 30-second clip of them, talking about Pulse Chain, and then next week we do Instagram. The week after that we do, what's that fancy new one again? TikTok, Reddit, whatever you want. I think we could really take over the airwaves on any one of these things.
100%.
Marketing.
Yeah, yellowtail. These guys are. I don't know why they keep talking about OnlyFans.
Yeah,
I don't know who would have brought that up, but
everybody gets famous somewhere, and I guess that was our route to fame.
That's a common joke. Yeah. OnlyFans for aquarium fish. Yes. I had the HEX aquarium. I don't have the software chops to build it, but I did get a service that would take the biggest HEX stakers and make them into fish.
Oh, that's fun.
And then they float around on the screen with their little T-share label, but not scalable at the moment. Maybe somebody come up with something like that. That'd be kind of fun to do. Like, I forget who in the community had it. It might have been Soul. Soul, you might know about this. I don't know. Somebody had like a 724 stream with a guy in front of his computer, but it was a dynamic screen. So things were changing. Lights were going on and off. It was raining out. The sun was out, but it was like time was passing. Stuff was moving around on the table, that kind of stuff. All right. SJ
cool.
has, I think we're probably dying off here. SJ has a real question. Trio.
Yeah, and I believe she's talking about Maximus DAO tokens, right?
She may be.
That seems likely. So when does the trio stake end for Maximus DAO? I think
I don't know.
Is that the nature of her question?
Yeah.
Yep.
Anybody know in the chat? I don't know. I haven't been following it lately. So
She said, okay, well, she says right here, I have a trio thing ending in October. Is there anything happening sooner with that? Well, like SJ, what's going to happen is the value of trio will go up towards that date, in anticipation of that ending. And then I believe with Maximus DAO, there's a window where you could collect the underlying hex, and after that, it's a perpetual. It rolls back in, right? But like you may want to collect the hex during that window, or if there's sharp spikes in price, maybe you just want to swap it for hex because people are anticipating this, of course. But I think it's a pretty niche audience for trio in particular. So, yeah, either of those plans. But as long as you're getting more hex than you put in, that's going to be a win.
All right.
That's a 3-year hex stake, right?
Yeah. Yes, it is. And Beach Whale saying he doesn't know how to claim the hex. I don't know offhand how to do it either. I imagine their website allows you to do it or has that information. So,
yeah,
that's a good topic to go dig into, right? Come back with, because there's a lot of stuff that I understood in the beginning, but I forgot now, right? I'm like,
indeed,
like what's my password? Where did I put my keys?
Indeed, yep. How many kids do I have? What are their birthdays? It's all up for grabs.
You mean you're not my wife? Yeah.
Not today. Well, it's your turn.
That's what I said. Yeah, Beach Whale said like pool party. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on out there to figure out.
There is a website for Maximus DAO. It's like Maximus DAO. Maximus.cash is what it is.
All right. That's a good
double check that, people. I could be wrong, but there's a link for perpetuals there. I imagine all the buttons are on that screen.
Yeah. Well, I think we hit our hour. I'm feeling like we're not really hitting all the marks any longer. But anything else you want to cover? Hey, anybody have suggestions about things we should cover on Tuesday nights? We can do that. I'll try to be a little bit more organized and have like a plan. Most of my streams I plan them out, ahead of time and do that. But so people can find you where?
Find me on Twitter @FastAbdul, as displayed on the screen in this fancy text. So follow me if you want to live. Let's go.
If you want to live. And then you can find me at HexFire.io. And so with that, hit the like, subscribe. You guys stay crispy out there. Trey, send this out to somebody who cares. And might be interested in this stream, and we'll be back with more next week. And with that, we're gonna go out. I think I have an outro.